Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 609 being recorded on December 30, 2020. It's our 2020 wrap-up show. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sproenberg.
I'm Kent Burgess.
And I'm deepfake Jim Tanis.
Yeah, it's actually Alan, but you know.
Wearing a gym skin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can subscribe to be alerted when we go live for podcast recording sessions like this at PCPer.com/subscribe. Our first segment after the intro every week, we go to Josh, camera 2, in Laramie, Wyoming. And do you have an update for us, Josh, of the burger variety?
No.
No? I see one on the screen. What is this? Let's go over to this.
Show it to me.
All right, here. This. What is this?
Oh, that was last week.
It was, but it was.
Yeah, but we were off last week.
Yeah. But you know what? That's
sort of
old
counts.
news.
Okay. All right. What's
I didn't have a
news?
burger today, but anyway, okay, I'll go through that burger. It's a pretty good one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's hear
It's
it.
called the Naughty.
Ooh.
The
I like it already.
Naughty. So, 2 all-beef patties, cheddar cheese, jalapenos, chipotle ketchup, lettuce, pickles, tomatoes, and some Thousand Island dressing with bacon. And those fries are always really good. So, yeah. That was my burger for the last 2 weeks. Didn't have one today. It's very sad.
You know,
Everybody was very sad.
I'm looking at this. It looks a little messy here. I mean, you've got a little ketchup.
Well, it's a little crushed, which,
Okay.
you know, if you go into the restaurant, they don't cram it down nearly as much. But because they wrapped it up in the foil and put it in a bag for me to take away, the presentation is always a little mushed. But, you know, the taste is always right there.
All right. Thank you so much for the burger update.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
A couple more, one more housekeeping
yes.
item. Anyway, well, two housekeeping items. One is that we've got a Patreon. Please, if you're enjoying this sort of thing, and this is the sort of thing you enjoy, then head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/PCPer and become a patron of the arts and throw $1 in the bucket because we really appreciate that. Keeps this
Or maybe
whole
10.
thing, or 10, keeps it all spinning around.
And we'll
And
get you
it will.
something special.
Very, very special. The other thing is obvious is that we're on the eve of the eve, and this is the last show, we promise, of 2020. So we got all dressed up, and we wanted to bring you a high quality show. So thanks everybody, and Jeremy, I love the lampshade that you brought to the show. Really appreciate that, showing some real Canucky stand.
wait, where's the
Spirit.
lampshade?
He said he was
Only
bringing
true
a
Canadians
lampshade.
can see it.
Okay. I'm not
okay.
seeing it on my monitor. I mean,
Well, I mean, if we could see it, I assume it's spectacular, but it's Canadian eyes only, I guess. So for you Canadian subscribers out there that are checking him out, calling it in from the space station, I guess, based on his video frame rate update. Yeah, enjoy that.
Jim's got the whole.
It's essentially only the people around the Great Lakes and the Yukon. And other than that, no.
Well,
Those folks are
I'm in the Great Lakes.
special.
But I'm not wearing
So what,
a
the
rugged.
seven
Go ahead.
nations?
You've lost me as always. I never understand your references. I'm sorry.
But you've got to finish that rugged look observation, though.
Well, Jim's got the rugged look going on.
He's a lumberjack.
Yeah. And I couldn't be one up by Brett. He showed up wearing a tie over his sweater. So I said, should I put a suit coat on over my t-shirt? And the answer was a resounding yes. So I'm doing my best to look like, what is the one YouTube channel? The guy who explains.
Technology Connections.
Yes, I'm trying to look like the guy from Technology Connections. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, your shirt says "de run," which is Spanish for of running.
Yes.
Oh, never mind.
It's Blade Runner. So wearing my Blade Runner t-shirt. Let's see. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the stories for the week because this is going to be a little bit of a different show. We have, some I know it's a 2020 wrap-up thing. We're doing the 2020 end-of-year podcast thing. But first, a public service message. Friends, don't let friends run CHKDSK on SSDs. Which
Jeremy, you took some heat for this.
Well, if they bothered to be even sensible in the replies, I'd be a little bit interested in replying, but that's some of the worst typing I've seen in my life.
What, in the comments?
Like up to and including it's not CHKDSK/s, it's CHKDSK./scan or /r.
Hey, for a little bit of behind the scenes, a push behind this is one of the most popular links on the site this week, and it was read well over 10,000 times. Okay. So it got circulated out there. So, with that in mind, Jeremy, take it away.
So, as it stands, unless you're running Windows 7 or below, because you hate Windows 10, the system now handles almost all the CHKDSK stuff in the background without bugging you. And it does it properly, and it is able to lock things and certain that it doesn't completely, totally destroy your operating system, which doesn't usually happen. Now, don't get me wrong, it's normal behavior for CHKDSK, but our beloved overlords in Redmond pushed out 2 updates, one or both of which would cause a CHKDSK/F, looking for and repairing issues on your file system, which includes locking the drive completely. It would overwrite some of the very important parts of the system files, and the raw partition would kind of go, and you'd not be able to boot to that disk anymore. There were ways to fix it, but I mean, for the most part, it's not necessary anymore unless something is horribly, horribly wrong and you've already backed everything up anyways because holy crap, this thing's about to die. Let your machine do it. If your SSD is having a problem, enter. Don't go to the link that your uncle sent you of the latest version of Driver Cleaner. Go to the manufacturer. Get their tools. They'll be able to fix stuff. There are some partitioning tools which are every bit as effective. They cost you money. Your SSD manufacturer is not going to charge you. So I understand that I could have spent an hour and a half writing something even longer than the register link, which I posted to, which was where you went to get all the details. But I didn't. And I'm also loving that I'm getting grief for how dare you tell people not to defragment. Are you talking about the Windows 10 optimization tool? Did I stutter? Did Windows 10 optimization?
I don't know. I'm watching your video, and you look like you're stuttering.
You are stuttering. Actually, yes.
That's just me.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Thank you for getting that.
Yep.
But no, you can force drag still on your SSD. It is a stupid thing. Don't do it.
Jeremy needs to defrag his video feed.
It'll clear up when we're done. It'll clear up at 5 minutes before the end of the show, like it always does.
I want to go kick my routers. What I want to do.
You're up to almost a frame every 3
Well, turn off your
seconds.
TV in the background. It's streaming, and it's causing you issues.
Yeah, it's interfering.
That's coming over cable, but anything.
Jeremy, take the RF shield off of your router antennas.
Amazon now sends me
did
a
you
link
get
to
that
brand
dome?
new
Did you get it?
RF things every day for looking that up.
I need to do this right
I don't
now.
think they realized I was mocking it.
Yeah, you should bring that back in just so that people know what we're talking about here.
Yes, hold on a second while we look things up online.
Yes, you should. I'm going to go
This is all
look
real
everything
time.
but this machine from the router.
Router.
This is live internet, just crap goes
Because
on.
this is actually a real product category if you're not aware. Look at this.
yeah.
Popular too.
And you can buy things that are just, they block your Wi-Fi. You can put them right over your own router and block your own Wi-Fi inside of your home to protect yourself.
Do you know why?
Are you?
Because
Because people are afraid of 5G. That's why.
Well, not only that, but there's an entire kung fu sector of individuals who hit themselves in the balls. And so this is the less painful, but still effectively the same version of this type of kung fu.
Ooh, this one has this shield box comes with gloves, or is it just showing you that it's 2 thumbs up? Like, this is a great product.
I don't know. I'm going to say doesn't come with gloves, just an endorsement.
Those look kind of like cut gloves. Does it come with the cut gloves? It shows them being used with cut gloves. Is this really sharp metal? Is that why? That's what I want to know.
You don't want to get any of the radiation on your hands.
That's true.
Oh. So, yeah, Jeremy, take your router out of that box.
Yeah, take the router out of the box.
I just unplugged everything from the router except this machine.
Hey, you know, something that would fit into one of those boxes, and there's going to be a theme here. The end of 2020 podcast is all about mini PCs. For some reason, it's just a timing thing. And so we have a story on the pint-sized ASUS PN50 mini PC. Oh, I see why this is interesting. It's powered by AMD.
Magic? No.
Magic. It's 115 by 115 by 49 millimeters. What is that in imperial numbers?
And the venerable Vega.
I care.
Who cares?
I can't. I mean, I kind of know what 114 millimeters is, but at the same time,
it's a Coke can.
Is
a
it?
pint of beer.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it's kind of standard mini PC
size. A little bit longer,
size.
but
okay.
Yeah, $500 is, somewhat significant. But
well, I mean, you're going to have to do your own memory, and you're going to have to own M.2 storage or SATA if you really want. But you can get to do your own memory. You're not going to pay an arm and a leg for DDR4 3200. You get to pick what you want and stick it in there. So I like that idea.
You get to pick what you want and then stick it in there. That's what I heard.
What's the CPU it comes with, or is it you get to pick what you want and stick it in there? Oh, 54. Okay.
Let's see. Where's
Sorry, our 4700U.
Okay, so this is
4700U.
Oh, okay. This makes a lot more sense now that I am actually looking at the Kit Guru review. Let's look over here at Kit Guru.
Yeah, see how big it is
and it's
now?
next to a Pepsi Max can, and it's roughly the same size. So I see. It has a couple DIMM slots, kind of your standard like Intel NUC style, BYOM, and storage.
Memory. Yeah.
So this is R7 4700U. Okay.
Oh, 15 watt TDP. Okay. 8 core.
Yeah.
Vega 7
With
forever.
Vega 7 in it.
And Intel Wi-Fi, of course.
Got proper IR receiver and a microphone, so you can both point your remote at it or yell at it to control it.
I think it's interesting that it included the microphones because the one we're going to talk about next actually did not. And
if you want to play,
you can fire up Cortana on this one and just start talking.
Oh, great!
Exactly.
Perfect. Does it have a built-in speaker too, so it can shout at you during Windows installs?
No, it just goes like this.
Does it use the PC speaker beeper for Cortana? I want to hear Cortana synthesized through a PC speaker, like
that with the beeper. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Does it
careful
come?
what you ask for.
Does it come with the remote? I thought you said it came with the remote. Let's see what the
No,
performance is
but
like.
you can go out and buy a fancy remote. It's got both IR and voice.
And if you want to hear a tiny fan spinning at full speed, run Cinebench, and you get.
Does this one have a fan? Does it have a fan?
It has to.
Azulle one, yeah. That's why you can game on it.
Oh,
CSGO
okay.
at 1080p,
That makes sense.
it's 80
All
frames
right.
a second.
Ooh.
All right. Yeah.
Let's see.
Which, for that isn't bad.
Firestrike 3221. Here we go. CSGO 79 frames per second average at 1080 lowest preset. Rocket League 60 frames per second LOL is 188.
Yep. So you can play on it.
Yeah.
So you can sport game on it. Okay.
Yeah, it's obviously the esports platform of choice for streamers everywhere.
For sticking it in your pocket and walking out of the house.
Outside of people who modify them and add extra heat sinks and things, are there any mini PCs powered by AMD that are fanless? I thought all the fanless stuff was Intel, but maybe I'm out of the
I'm
loop.
sure you could find one, but
Because we've seen fanless stuff that's bigger, that's Intel or that's AMD, like the big like heatsink cases and stuff. But go ahead, leave me a comment. Tell me which fanless mini PCs are available that are AMD powered. that are similar
Subscribe.
to... Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Hit that bell to be notified when we go online and don't know what we're talking about. Or that's just me. Okay.
All the time.
Hey, Brett.
Yeah.
You did... Speaking of mini PCs...
Exactly. This is sort of a
you
trio.
reviewed one.
I did review this Azulle Byte 4, another mini PC, fanless, I might add.
Yes,
Intel based.
But is it? It's you just said it. You just said it. That's the instantly people. You can tune out now. It's Intel based. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it's not as cool. But I did try to make it Christmas themed, as you can see with my snow globe in the background there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, maybe it isn't for everybody. It's not necessarily a real gaming PC, but it is capable enough because it's got a ton of ports. It can drive a ton of screens. I forgot to actually mention this. It was very easy for me to get a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse hooked up to it from across the room. Worked great. It's got an IR sensor in the front of it, ton of ports in the back, capable of being powered over Ethernet. It's got a PoE port.
The whole thing can be powered over Ethernet?
Yeah, actually it can. I was using I only have one PoE injector, power injector, so I didn't actually get a chance to move it over there. But the spec says no problem in getting that to work with a straight Ethernet line. So you could hardwire it, and that's kind of the only cable to it. And you can mount it
How
right
did
into
the
back
globe affect heat?
I assumed that it was just bending the Wi-Fi signals around it, and I wrote that into the review.
Because you think because glass can conduct heat, right? It's not as effective as aluminum.
Yep.
You don't see a lot of glass heat sinks.
Glass is an insulator.
Oh, is it?
I did.
Okay.
I did
crappy
watch,
one, but it's still an insulator.
I did watch some extensive Netflix with it in the glass globe configuration.
Oh, like
and I
this?
did not notice. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't notice any overheating. It seemed to take that just fine.
Okay. But I mean, there's other areas of the heatsink still exposed to the air.
I did actually place it in the concentric area of the circular base. Thank you for noticing.
By the way, I'm noticing the first line here. Perhaps you are the well-endowed family tech genius? What's going on here?
If you're the well-endowed family tech genius, this may be not the PC, mini PC for you. Maybe you should skew more towards the stick in it, whatever you want in the, the ASUS one. Yeah. Well, you did ask though. Yeah. This is an all-in-one miniature PC, fanless again. That has a particular, thing in mind that they'd say, hey, this might get hot. It doesn't really.
And I have to ask, I know the answer already, but this top that we're looking at here, that's not actually metal, is it?
It's not. It's plastic.
Why do they do that? Why do they make fanless things and then put plastic over the metal heatsink fence?
I did observe that. I didn't really call them out too hard for that. I just sort of stated that there's an interior heat spreader that is the full cover underneath that. And then I noted that there's no venting there. It didn't seem to really bother it a whole lot, but I guess under extreme circumstances, you might have wanted it. It's just not there. Here's a nice shot of the back. It's actually very well ported.
I don't see any USB back here.
It's on the side. It's on the side.
It does have VGA. Crucially, it has VGA.
And I mentioned during the review, please don't get snide with the VGA. Exactly. Don't turn up your nose.
Could have put a second LAN port back there, but no, actually there is.
You mean a third LAN port.
Okay, hold on. The PoE, can that be used as just a straight LAN port? Or
it can.
Okay.
It can.
Right.
So you could actually conceivably turn this into something of a router, a PFSense kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the VGA, before you get, too snidely on that, there's a lot of projection systems out there, a lot, that are probably still VGA, and they're very expensive and still operating in a lot of different places.
Okay.
This is legit. Keep it. And I see where they're going with it.
Well, this is like a business-oriented device, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, here are those side ports.
Yeah, and it's got a card port for like camera cards and stuff like that. A single USB-C and all USB, I think 3.1s because they're all 5 gigabit.
Is there any difference between 3.0 and 3.1 Gen 1 or By 1? Or...
I think they just changed the name from 3.0 to 3.1 Gen 1. I think that was their...
Or was it 3.0? No, I don't remember. 3.2 versus 3.1. Okay, all right.
Let's pretend we didn't have this conversation.
Will it sit a bench? He says without a question mark, and the answer is yes. Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Really? Let's see.
I got called out on Facebook for using a question mark in a headline, and people didn't like it, so we won't talk about that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's too.
it does Cinebench, not very much, but I mean, it will run and not crash, so that's a good thing.
This is a Celeron J4125, which is 4 cores, single threaded.
People have said that they took issue with my saying that was an 8 or an 8 megabit or 8 megabyte CPU memory limitation, and as Intel datasheet says the same. Apparently some other people have gotten more memory mileage out of it.
You're saying that they limit it to 8 gigabytes of RAM.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, their documents say that, and Intel's documents say that as well. But some people told me, hey, other people are getting more than 8 meg on that.
Why? Why with a Celeron J series? Why would you want more than 8? Why would you even need more than 4 necessarily?
I'm sorry, 8 gig. Sorry,
yeah,
I said meg.
But the important thing is that it is built on the rugged 14 nanometer. Well, hold on, that's Kent. What am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, look, it's built on rugged 14 nanometer process technology.
I left out the word rugged, but it's implied.
Yeah. Here's that nice HW Info view to check out all the specs. Mm-hmm. This is not exciting. The whole point of this is that it's fanless. You could get a more powerful mini PC, but it would not necessarily be fanless.
No. If you scroll to the bottom here, I call out a few. Well, networking is obviously important. It doesn't really have any issues with hardwired or Wi-Fi networking. It seems to be, it's a full-fledged Windows 10 PC. Nothing at all wrong with it, and they didn't gimp the network at all.
What was CPU utilization like when you're doing your transfer tests?
Low. It was like below 20%. Okay. So it was like around 12% or something like that.
That's what I think. 20. Now, is this Intel?
A single stream, and I wasn't doing anything else with it, so I was just playing around with it.
Who made the wireless chip?
I noted it was Realtek.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I think it was I'm sorry. The Wi-Fi was Intel. The hardwire is Realtek. If you scroll up, I call it out what the 2 chips were. Okay. This has got a little bit of expansion in it. It's got an NVMe 2x2, not 4x. You can put another memory SODIMM in it, and it's got the capability of adding an SSD, which I tried, and then did some speed tests on the SSD, which was full-fledged SATA 6, no problems at all with that. It worked great. The onboard was a little slow, but as I think you and I talked about this eMMC.
Yeah, so standard for these things. Hey,
not really fast.
Is this the heatsink for the M.2 drive right here? This thing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
does it come with one of those pads?
It does. Yeah, there's some stickies that come with it that you can apply to the backside.
And let's talk about this toolkit. Who made this toolkit? Where'd this come from?
I brought that onto the podcast once, and you know this, or else you wouldn't have asked this.
I don't remember. Is it Ryobi? Is it? I don't.
It's as an alternative to say, hey, this comes with a lot of bits. It even has security bits. You can take apart a lot of stuff with it. It's really cheap, and you could buy it at Walmart.
Oh, Walmart sells it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Walmart. Yeah.
All right.
So here you can see I've hooked up an SSD 5100 Micron 5100 Pro to it.
Where'd you buy that? Did you buy that at OWC? Sales.com. Yes, you did.
Yes, I
did.
Yes, I did.
Let's look at those transfer speeds. Ooh, all that SATA 2 can provide.
Well, that's the eMMC. So go to the next one.
Okay. Oh, hey, look at that. SATA 3.
Yeah. That's 6.
Well, I mean SATA 3, a.k.a. SATA 6 gigabit per second.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
An eMMC, not terrible, but it's there if you need it. What is this, 64 gigs?
64 gig, yep, single chip. And it comes with I think there's an option for a smaller one. Here's a picture of that heat sink that kind of underlies that whole thing. They just spread it around and hope for the best. I can't argue with it.
Is that a heat sink or just a big panel? Is it just a heat sheet?
It's a heat sheet.
Maybe it's a heat think.
Yeah.
And you've got a lisp. Yeah. Heat think.
Yeah. I can see that.
That would be a heat spreader.
I don't have an argument with it. I mean, they've got that giant slug of aluminum.
Is it acceptable? I'm sorry.
It seemed to work reasonably well. I can't fault them. I couldn't overview.
Can you not fault them? I mean, you could
not for this part.
Okay.
Not for this part.
I want to see fins. I want to see copper. I want to see fins.
It is what it is.
But this is like a 6-watt power CPU, isn't it? Oh, it's 10. I bet it's never really running at 10 though.
That is 15.
So I took
that was the AMD
ASUS
one.
ASUS is 15. This is 10.
The entire top of the let me quote from the review here. The entire top of the case is a sheet of metal with a slug extended towards the CPU. That's all it is. I'm not seeing heatsink. I'm just seeing heat sheet.
Slug.
Heat slug.
It's kind of what it is.
Okay,
I call it like I see it.
So
this is some examples. What is this for? It's for take home video conferencing. It'll drive a bunch of monitors at your Taco Bell. You can talk to Cortana on it. It's a
if you really like Cortana, here's a device you can set up in one go and start talking. Wow. Okay. All right.
It's probably not for a lot of people. Hey, cloud gaming. You could play some cloud gaming on it, but look at the price.
Is that okay? Does the $225 price include a Windows license? Does it ship with Windows on it?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so it's like a ready to go PC for $225.
That's correct. And I called it like I saw it. Maybe it's not for me, but it would make a great gift for probably certain people. And it's really capable in what it can do. Play videos. You can interact with it across the room. Play some light gaming on it. Video conference with people. Doesn't sound like much of a PC, but for $225, you got to tailor your expectations.
Okay, I mean, that comes into the argument about used versus new and repurposing like a business machine. But I mean, that's not bad for a brand new, because I mean it's fanless. You can get smaller stuff cheaper.
I would consider giving it to a non-computer savvy relative, perhaps, as to video conference with them if they, didn't have a tablet or something.
And then put a really obscure flavor of Linux on it and just say, you're on your own.
You can get it with Linux. That's a good point.
Yeah. Another review that's coming up is for this thing. And the only reason I didn't have this up today is because I did not have the charts made for it. So I got to do that.
Yeah. Show this thing off.
This is the ultra tiny PC form factor from ECS. If I can bring myself onto camera one here. See, this is a 3x3 by 1 point something inch device. It's very small. As you can see next to my head. In millimeters? I don't remember. I wrote the specs out, but I don't remember them. As you can see, this has a little vent on it, and that's because this is actively cooled. And at first I was thinking, why on earth would you actively cool something this small? And I think it's because there's just not enough physical surface area to do a passive heatsink, so they had to put a tiny fan in it. Which you can hear when it's spinning up, but it's just kind of this whoosh noise. It's not a whine. It's okay. But look, it's got dual display outs on it. You've got HDMI, DisplayPort, Ethernet, and you've got 3 USBs on the front and a card reader on the side. It's okay. It's tiny though. It's super small. So that's coming. See how capable this is. We'll compare. I'll make Brett run benchmarks on that Byte 4 using like PC Mark, and we'll see which one's the better
Oh, we will totally do that.
Productivity machine. Yeah.
We should probably do like a face-off spec versus live thing and go, well, yeah, mine can do this.
Yeah, but did you benchmark?
You can throw it.
Did you benchmark your Byte 4 using that eMMC, or did you put in a fast SSD first?
eMMC.
Oh, you did? Okay. So that's a much more... Because this has 64 gigs of eMMC, and this is a Pentium 4000 series. I want to say it's a 4200. It's very close, but it's
very close.
It's branded Pentium. It's not branded Celeron J series.
You've got more of a thermal envelope, though, but I have more of a sync. I
mean, it's funny because this will run higher clocks because it's actively cooled, even though it's only 3 inches, I'm guessing.
How many cores is that?
This is 4. It's 4.
Yeah. And will it clock up higher than 2.7?
I'm not sure about that. I thought 2.8, but I'll have to consult the specs.
This is going to be close. This is going to be a close throwdown.
Do we have a break here for anything? Or are we just powering through to the next topic?
We have an important break. If you like sleep, then you might want to hear more about our sponsor, Helix Sleep. Like most people, we really like a restful sleep after a long workday. We were recently thinking about replacing our mattress when out of the blue, like literally the next day, Helix Sleep made us an offer to try out one of their custom tuned mattresses. Tuned? Yes, the Helix Sleep website has a quiz that takes like 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preferences to a mattress that's literally tuned for you. Helix has several different mattress models to choose from: soft, medium, firm, and ones that are great for cooling for hot sleepers, and you know who you are, and even models for plus-sized folks. After taking the online Helix quiz, we were matched with the Luxe model due to our firmness requirements and sleep positions.
I was a bit dubious at first because it really wasn't what we would have selected for ourselves based on personal preferences, but it turned out to be a really excellent experience. We sleep better and more comfortably than we ever have. It's a massive upgrade. We're definitely happy with our tuned Helix mattress. Take the Helix quiz, get matched with a mattress, and your order comes right to your door, shipped for free. No need to go to the mattress store ever again. My personal experience has been great, but you don't need to just take my word for it, as Helix was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by Wired Magazine. So go on over to helixsleep.com/PCPer, take that 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you up with a customized and tuned mattress that'll give you the best sleep of your life. I'm glad I did. There's a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights, risk-free. Right now, Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for listeners of our podcast. Go over to helixsleep.com/PCPer. Check it out for a better night's sleep.
Hey, and we're back. And we're going to talk about Rage. Not the game. We're going to talk about Rage mode in graphics cards. The FPS review has been busy. If you're not familiar with them, you should be. It's Brett Justice and others from Hard OCP. They carry on as the FPS review.
But did they test Rage in Rage mode? Because it's still got the mega textures and that streaming whole mega texture thing.
So I want to find out.
Performance.
I want to see. Did they? I'll have to email Brent and say, "Hey, please test Rage in Rage." I guess I could do it myself. What did he test? System setup. It's a Ryzen 7 3700X on a Crosshair 8 Hero Wi-Fi board. I like how they have the BIOS listed here. That's nice with the AGESA version. That's very thorough. BIOS 2402 Beta, which is AGESA V2 PI 1100 patch C. And moving on to actual benchmark results. Here's the infamous Cyberpunk. This is version 104, so that's a couple versions behind. Although, is 104 the latest version for PC? Because I have not patched it since 1.04.
No, it's on 1.06.
On PC now? Okay.
Yes.
Did that make any noticeable changes? You're the one who's played Cyberpunk the most.
I've not encountered. I didn't get it until 1.04, and it's patched twice since then. And I really didn't notice any of the problems that a lot of people have been having. I've only encountered one graphical bug in about 20 hours of playing so far.
So does your gameplay consist of standing in one spot and just leaving the room, and you're just taking it easy? Like, I don't interact with anybody. I don't get in any cars. Oh, okay.
He thinks about his decisions about genitalia and pubic hair in Cyberpunk 2077.
And how many dildos are in his inventory.
Don't tell everyone, Josh.
Yeah, the character creation screen is a little disturbing.
My kid was setting this up, and he's like, "Dad, what does this mean?" Of course, he's 18, but he's a really nice kid. It's like, what do you mean genitalia on or off? And what about pubic hair style? It's like, just leave those disabled.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know about those things until you're married.
Advice or clarification?
Okay. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to these sort of results here. Rage mode, as you can see, no appreciable difference in Cyberpunk at 1440 Ultra. Watch Dogs Legion, you see it go up a frame, but it goes down a frame in Rage mode. This is similar to what I encountered when I was doing some quick Rage mode testing with the last review, and I didn't even include it in the review. I'm like, this does almost nothing. We're like 1 frame per second here and there.
There's 4.
Okay, here's 4.
Wolfenstein
Youngblood, yep. Rage mode was lower.
It went down.
Yeah.
It was slower.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily work all that well. I guess it depends on your card.
I used Rage mode against this XFX, and yeah, it was minimal. But I think, I think the key of Rage mode is you've actually got to go through and overclock it yourself. I mean, to expect it to go much, much higher than what stock is, and what, kind of the software and the firmware allows you to do, you need to enable rage mode, and then you're going to have to do A/B testing against, what is stable, what is my fastest, when do things just start falling apart. And that's going to be the key to where rage mode is if you're overclocking, you've got that enhanced power delivery. They raise the limits up there quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, if you just expect it to go up like 10% by enabling rage mode, you're wrong, because it just doesn't work that way. It's going to be some elbow grease on your end. It's going to be some time. You got to figure out what clocks work best, what kind of, behavior and performance you're looking for. But yeah, it's a tool, but it's not easy mode.
I'm looking at the conclusion
and that's like
here.
The most coherent thing that I'm probably going to say all night.
Okay.
Gosh, I thought it was supposed to be, put out there as easy mode.
What? Everybody would like easy mode, but you know what? This is 2020, man. It may be 2021 soon, but it's still 2020. There's no such thing as easy mode.
We got like 50 hours for it to be 20.
Something like that, yeah.
Looking at the actual quote that they used from the AMD Reviewer's Guide for Rage Mode, they say the amount of performance headroom can vary from one chip to the next, and it will also depend on the cooler design of the card in question. So I think the bigger key here is that the performance headroom varies from chip to chip. So the results they showed in their charts when this was launched were probably, cherry-picked golden samples that had some extra headroom, and just increasing the power limit got you better performance. Not every chip is going to do that, which is why you'll get more out of it if you just overclock manually. But yeah, this isn't even like, you have to go through like 2 or 3 screens to even enable this. You have to choose a custom performance profile and choose rage mode as one of the presets. Otherwise, it defaults to just, standard. I don't know. The performance is so tight. I feel like they got as much out of this card as they could, and enabling a bigger power limit on NVIDIA cards typically does give you a couple percentage points. But with this, it's kind of like the last generation. They weren't the best overclockers. I don't think any of these cards really have been the last couple generations. But
no, but they go up to 2.5 gigahertz for the most part. That's still kind of nuts with that big of a chip.
I think I don't know this. I don't know the architecture, but aren't we kind of to the point with boost technology where that is overclocking? Like it's overclocking itself as much as it can. It's looking at thermals, it's looking at power headroom, and it just clocks itself up. And yeah, it's chip specific how high it will consistently clock. But the clocking is so finely, it's granular, and then voltage control over across the entire chip, that they can get really, really good performance out of, what would previously be just run-of-the-mill average chips. And that's because they've got so much fine control over clocking and heat and power delivery and all this other stuff that previously they've never invested in. I mean, 10 years ago, we saw the very, very beginnings of this. And, we saw chip speed start to increase, and then they've got, voltage domains across different things, and a tremendous amount of gating going on. And now we've got, specific microprocessors in the chips themselves that kind of view this and watch it and control it. And you get better overall performance in even just, average chips, because you've got your fingers all over that damn thing, and the behavior, and what you can do, what you can't do. And I mean, we've gotten to that point of control where overclocking, until you go into extreme environments like liquid nitrogen, refrigeration, and a lot more voltage than what you're usually going to do on a chip, you're just not going to see that kind of overclock. I mean, the days of the Celeron 300A are well over, especially with the graphics card. I mean, you start overclocking graphics card, you get 1 to 2 to 3% increase in overall performance from stock. And yeah, you can break some records by doing that and applying liquid nitrogen, but
it's diminishing returns every year because they put more logic in these chips to make them go faster consistently, that you don't have these, I mean, we all talk about cherry pick chips, but I really question whether they exist anymore. I mean, you're going to get some better bins, obviously. You're going to get some chips that will run better, fully enabled, and they're going to build those out to the high end, not Tesla, but, Quadro and those type of products. But otherwise, what makes it to consumers, if you can actually buy one, I mean, it's you're not going to get a whole lot of variance just because they control the internals of that chip so much better than they did 15, 20 years ago.
Hey, before we move on, I just want to point out that there's some talk in the chat. A lot of love coming out to you, Jim. Thanks for being on the show. Yeah, people are going like, Jim, it's wild, Jim. Look at that. And that someone just changed their name in Patreon, and I just want to read the name. And the name they changed, and I'm just going to read this one because it just, what could be the harm?
What's the worst that could happen?
And it's not literally from me. The name is I Kissed Jim's Belly Button.
And I liked it.
I think you're going to have to be more specific.
Okay.
Yep, that was it. I think maybe the rest is up to your imagination.
It's wonderful to be loved. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But I mean, is it as wonderful to be objectified, Jim? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Okay. All right. Intel is being pressured by hedge fund Third Point to explore some deals and strategic alternatives, basically to stop producing chips. Just stop making chips. So what do you think about this?
Is it because of the spanking they're receiving right now? Is that it?
I don't know. I mean, they're getting out of consumer SSDs, which is kind of sad. And they've talked about outsourcing some of the production of their forthcoming products to like TSMC. So this is all just speculation, and who knows how influential they are. But they're losing a lot of market share. So maybe it makes sense to just... I mean, this is what AMD did a long time ago. They divested themselves of their fab and just became a fabless semiconductor company like NVIDIA.
Yeah, but look how well their fabs are doing right now. Global Foundries they're surviving and not very, very well. And it has now limited AMD to TSMC and Samsung. And right now, Samsung can't provide the type of quality that AMD is looking for, and so they're working with TSMC and competing with the Apples and Qualcomms of the world for fab space. I mean, how many 5000 series CPUs have you really seen just readily available, other than Newegg drops?
One, and I bought it.
Yeah, go ahead and brag about the Micro Center experience some more, Brad.
So I was at Micro Center.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And
well,
then I
Memory
bought
Express was a better experience.
Yeah, and I mean,
what? They just had one? All right. Sorry, Josh.
There is a cost, certainly, for having your own fabs. And Jerry Sanders III so famously said, only real men have fabs. And there's some positives there. If you've got the volume and you can utilize that fab, you're going to be better off when things are good. When things are bad, you've got to weather the storm. And that's what Intel's doing. However, they've been weathering the storm essentially for 2.5 nodes. And that's not good. And a lot of that has been bad decisions multiple years ago and some pretty inconsistent management overseeing this. Instead of just saying, you know what, hey, we can be aggressive, but you know what, that's a little too aggressive. Let's pull things back. So we can at least kind of, keep a small advantage over the TSMCs of the world and Samsungs and Global Foundries. But I mean, that didn't last long because Global Foundry doesn't have anything less than 12 nanometer, which is only a repurposed 14 nanometer. But still, if Intel had been a little less aggressive on materials and some of the densities and geometries of their processes, they'd probably be doing a lot better. And I don't know if there's hubris involved. I couldn't say. Charlie would know better. But It's going fabless is a double-edged sword because you are no longer the number one consumer of a third-party fab. I mean, unless you're Apple and throw a lot of money, these third-party fabs are going to try to please as many people as possible, and they're going to allocate wafer starts in a way that is equitable to them, that they think that they will keep your business. And if you're Intel, you're like, I want all of your wafer starts. And TSMC is like, you can't have them. But with Intel, their own fabs, they can say, I want all these wafer starts because it's their fab. And so they made some mistakes 6-7 years ago in terms of 10 nanometer and now 7 nanometer that is really hurting them. But when you are dealing with the volumes that Intel has, you kind of have to have your own fab infrastructure because you can't share with anybody else. And so if they get their process technology fixed, where they have something, it doesn't have to be better. It just has to be competitive. And this is kind of a speed bump that they've hit, in that they've had the mentality is this has got to be better. This has got to be more dense. We've got to have more aggressive geometries involved in here so that we can pack more transistors into a smaller die and still have good performance. And our CPUs are going to be smaller than our competition. And we're all going to come out ahead in terms of performance and power and die size. And they've got to get away from that because physics is an unyielding individual that they are pushing against. And I think it would be premature for them to consider spinning off their fabrication just because of the amount of volume they have. Because if they spin it off, I mean, it could very well go like Global Foundries. You've got to find somebody who's going to do the back end support in terms of money for the development and the R&D of these advanced process nodes, the current process nodes, because Intel's just going to be wanting to say, hey, we're going to do a license agreement with this many wafers, and there is no two bits about it. This is what you're going to take. And I know Global Foundries with AMD, they had some wiggle room in there, and they amended these wafer agreements because they were losing money from producing AMD parts, and they had to change that. And I don't know if that's going to work out for Intel. And I know this is a very long, drawn-out spiel, but I just don't see, with the kind of volume that Intel has, that they can really spin off their manufacturing like AMD did. AMD was 1/5 to 1/10 the size of Intel when that happened. And you just can't find that kind of wafer starts to be able to absorb the business that Intel is willing to do. And I mean, plus you've got all kinds of other things internally. Their design tools, it's all kind of in-house stuff. They've started to step away from that with Raja and Jim Keller and those guys, doing more general, type stuff where they can actually take these designs and move it to a different process technology. It's still not quite there yet, but it's an area that they're heading to, and they have been for the past 5 or 6 years, because the old way of doing things was not very effective when it started to, compete against, AMD, and they've got a lot of really interesting EDA, and they've got design tools, and they've got these libraries that TSMC and Samsung and everybody else has developed. So things are much more portable and easier to design. Clear as mud?
Totally.
That's a freaking soliloquy and a half. I'm sorry I went off, but it is a crazy place that Intel is in, because the easy answer is, kick off manufacturing because you divest yourself of all of these billions and billions of dollars of stuff that you're pouring money into. And you may not be getting what you want out in terms of your margins are suffering. You've got 14 nanometer parts that are competing against 7 nanometer parts. You've got all these other issues going on because manufacturing has not been able to keep up. They were over aggressive with what they did with their designs, and it has hurt Intel's bottom line tremendously. You kick that off, and you're in a different world of hurt instead of just fixing manufacturing. Just because you're still one of the largest chip manufacturers in the world, and nobody's going to be able to give you the volume of wafer starts that you need.
Yeah, they would have to invest in somebody first. They'd have to help build the infrastructure at TSMC or Samsung first.
And that's years of stuff.
I know that we keep talking about this 14 nanometer forever thing and the difference between that and 7 nanometer, but remember when they took it apart and actually, measured the stuff right down to the electron microscope level, they discovered that the measurements that are typically used to say this is a 14 nanometer, the numbers really didn't mean much from a measurement perspective, and that they really weren't all that far apart from a 7 nanometer AMD gate and a 14 nanometer Intel gate didn't appear under electron microscope peering to be dramatically different. From a distance perspective. Do you remember we looked at that a couple of weeks ago?
The only problem is power draw. So
yeah, certainly.
It looks very close under a microscope.
That's why these numbers are not very meaningful.
14 is really closer to 10, and 7 is really closer to 10, so they get really close. Maybe it's 12. 14 is really 12. Who knows? But the problem is Intel processors at the high end draw 200 watts, and AMD processors draw just over 100.
It's very hard to dissipate and keep them there. Obviously, the tau number of seconds problem, and the motherboards that their CPUs are being plugged into aren't doing them any favors sometimes by feeding them too much voltage.
Well, they are doing them favors. Here's the thing, because anybody who doesn't know what tau is, right?
Go ahead.
There are PL1 and PL2, power limit 1, power limit 2. Power limit 2 is the higher limit, that's shorter duration. Power limit 1 is the one it falls back to. But then after those are done, it goes back to base speed. This is when it's turboing all cores under a sustained load, like you're doing a Blender render on all cores. So at some point, it will hit a threshold, which is like 56 seconds, and will drop, or 128 seconds, and it will drop to a lower power limit. And motherboard vendors, unless you're buying an OEM board, unless you're buying an OEM system, if you're buying an enthusiast board, it has power limits disabled. I haven't seen a single board yet that has power limits enabled by default. Because why would they want to? They would show lower performance across all reviews if people were testing them in out-of-box state. So to compete with each other, these motherboard vendors just have this all disabled. So that the result of this is that your processor has much higher performance, but unfortunately, it means that it's drawing like 200 watts under load.
And thermally, it's a sun.
Right. So it's hotter than the sun, and you have to have a really beefy cooler. But if you have like a 280 millimeter cooler and you don't mind some fan noise, you get way better performance. It's like overclocking for free without having to do anything. But
people who might choose to put a more modest air cooler on there sometimes are not aware of that the limits are off, and that they're in for kind of a bad time, and then they'll sink to even lower performance because of it. It'll pull clocks until it doesn't look very good.
Gamers Nexus did a little kind of expose about this, like motherboard vendors' default settings, and I know that AnonTech, like Ian over there, I think within the last year or so, had a whole article about this. So there's information about it, but the short version is this is not an AMD platform problem; it's an Intel platform problem, where it's kind of like, hey, look at our performance out of the box, but actually, if you enforce power limits, you will see the frequencies drop off a cliff after about a minute or so. Let's move on. A quick look at a review of a standing desk. This is not from IKEA. This is from iMovR. And it's actually an American-made motorized standing desk in a box. You can check out the nice photography from Chris Koch here at the review. And he goes over the features. This is kind of like getting into the world of ergonomic office furniture, which means it's not going to be cheap. If we look at the pricing, this is between between $679 and $800. But it's a USA made, USA supported, motorized ergonomic standing desk. So that's not out of keeping with the prices on that kind of stuff, if you've looked into professional grade office furniture, but has a nice digital display, multiple presets for different heights. And here's a picture of it in sitting mode, the way he had it adjusted, standing mode. And
hey, the new work at home situation that a lot of people find themselves in, this is really a viable alternative. And to be honest with you, there may be a lot of workplaces that are willing to offset some of this cost just because they have to stay home. So it may not be as expensive as it looks.
or just become a product reviewer. If you want to
there's that. I mean, that's the
it's a
fallback.
great way to bring products into your home. Looking at the conclusion here as I go to completely the wrong view. I need to move this.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Looking at the conclusion here, he says at $679 to start. It's expensive, but the features it brings just can't be found anywhere else. He gave it an Editor's Choice Award. So, hey, obviously Chris liked this a lot. I like this room setup too, like the kind of, I don't know what to call this wall color, but it goes really well with this hardwood floor. It's a nice setup here that he's got.
The lighting is muted. I like the that you get to kind of look outside.
But you can look outside. See, so often when people take a photo like this with a bright window, that gets blown out. But he's either using an HDR setting on a phone, or he might be manually adjusting the camera.
I would say I'm not going to denigrate him. He's got some skill.
Yeah, and you can actually see what's on the monitor.
Outside.
It could be, but it's so easy to blow out a window like this when you're trying to get adequate room lighting in a shot.
That could look pure white, and he's got a plant. So I mean, points on that.
Yeah,
I think it's the barbecue in the back, covered by the tarp that's absorbing much of that light. So
that could be. Yeah.
And if you're looking for something like that's a little cheaper, probably more than a year ago now, I reviewed a desk from a company called FlexiSpot, FLEXISPOT, and their pricing is less than half of that for fully automated electronic standing desks.
It's motorized, the same thing.
Yes, it's fully electronic, has memory positions and everything, and they're about $300.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this review. This was around CES time in 2019.
Oh God, almost 2 years ago.
Speaking of CES,
Wow.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it was a video. That's right. You can check out that video review. This FlexiSpot. No, does it come with the monitor arms or no?
No, but they do sell monitor arms that are specifically designed to fit the desk, but you can also use generic ones.
It seems very similar, and it's $600.
it's half that. Jim, you were saying it's
well, their pricing, I don't recall exactly what model that was, but their pricing starts around $300 for electronic desks.
Which is a lot more reasonable. That's getting down closer to that IKEA level of the desk that's 100% sold out all the time. That $379 motorized standing desk you can never buy.
Jim, did I see that desk would lower to beanbag height? Because that could be an interesting seating position.
Beanbag height.
Yeah,
probably could.
Show me that.
Do you call this beanbag height in the review?
Yeah, the one on the left. The one on the left.
I mean, hey, look, Brett, not everybody is tall.
Look, it's down near the plug, man.
My son would find this to be about the perfect height right now. So,
right.
If you're buying your 4 or 5-year-old a motorized standing desk,
and some people might,
this would be a great choice. I could let him use it down at the lower position, and then I could have the standing position. Mm-hmm. Although all he would do is just get on it and ride it up and down until it broke.
Well, just think about sharing the same computer in that situation and what you would find.
Yeah, I know. He has his own Play computers. I'll put one together for him, and it lasts like a day.
Hey, I see we're considering moving on to the 2020 news topics.
Of which there are so many that it's overwhelming.
It is. And I had made a suggestion that we should just maybe skim across them, or maybe just maybe a sentence or two on either one of them and kind of enforce let's move on to the next one, because this could easily be...
I just want to show, here is the screen that I'm seeing, and it says list of top 2020 stories, top in quotation marks here. And it actually goes off the page. It continues
it's extensive
into another page. So we could talk about any of these things.
Maybe.
Or all of these things.
Yes.
We could talk about bots. We could talk about Cyberpunk. We could talk about Capacitor Gate. We could talk about the AMD bike.
I put it in the email.
We want to talk about the only two things that actually matter to any of us.
Cyberpunk.
There's lots of things in there. But
what else?
I think it might, Josh, it might fall under the heading that I put it in the email of things that people forgot they were mad about.
Oh no,
There's more.
Now
More. Okay.
this can be done into a positive plus a negative. The negative
right,
we'll
hit me.
start off with. Next generation GPUs are magic, but you can't buy them. The positive thing, we finally have next generation storage that delivers on all of the promises, and you can buy it.
It's true.
That's 2020, end of 2020 for me. I mean,
Josh,
sure, AMD had great CPUs, can't buy them. NVIDIA,
Josh, I've definitely
great
got the first part
GPUs.
in there,
can't buy them.
but I didn't capture the second part. The great leaps and bounds in storage. So
Are you saying that the Samsung 980 or the Phison E18 series, the Western Digital SN850, these are all
Yes,
bad
thank
things?
no,
These are not
no,
next
not at all.
generational leaps that you can actually buy and
I
are reasonably
completely
priced?
Agree with you. Completely agree. Top story of 2020. Great storage. And we're
Okay.
done.
Wait, that's
So-
it? That's
Well,
not the
you know
top
what?
story of 2020.
No,
So-
it's not. It isn't. There's plenty. All of these are very interesting. Our 2020 stories, but that's one of them.
Okay.
one.
Yeah, but I just gave you the big two. The
You
good
did.
one and the bad one.
There are maybe a couple of in betweens. There may be some that fit between those endpoints.
Sure.
We could try and squeeze in a couple of these.
I did appreciate that the Falcon Northwest incident was on the list. I'm like, what is that? Oh, like, the side panel?
What?
We're still talking
Yes.
about this? Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
And
There are
thankfully,
things in there.
Soren
specific.
has documented this. A live stream that I think I deleted. But no, it was backed up. So if we look here, we can see I thought, oh, live stream opening this Falcon Northwest Talon system.
this
and there
actually
goes
happened.
There
Oh
goes
my God.
the glass side panel directly.
It's funny because I
down
was
onto-
How
I was
much-
on the live
how much
video
is
of
that
that,
system
and I
worth?
typed in as you were doing this, "Don't flip it over."
And
You
then I
didn't
flipped
catch it.
over. I didn't see. I had my phone, but I wasn't looking at it, and so I did not see that message from Josh. He actually texted me. He wasn't even in a chat. He texted me and said, "Don't flip it over." And I was busy flipping it over, so I couldn't read that text. And then I broke it. The glass panel
How much
broke.
is that system worth? What is that system
The
worth?
system was about a $11,000 system.
And you broke it.
I broke one glass side
One
panel.
part.
And Kelt from Falcon Northwest was very kind about the whole thing, and he sent another one. So when I took photos of the system, I had the unbroken side panel.
All right, I will cross that one off.
Yeah, we've covered that now. We've revisited that moment.
That's just seeing how many followers Linus has gotten from dropping everything, and he thought he would try it.
I'm not sure it was on purpose. I think it was very genuine, very organic.
I made it seem that way, yes. But thank you,
Oh.
Kent, for noticing that it was just a ploy, like everything else that we do, or everything else I do, to gain popularity and try to supplant Linus. We need to get to 10 million followers first.
I don't know how we're going to do that, but that's, the longest journey starts with the one step.
Okay, Brett. One topic.
Okay.
quickly. You now.
Okay,
Brett,
I'm
now.
gonna pick one probably because you guys are gonna blame me if I don't pick this one. I'm gonna pick Apple Silicon /M1 as a 2020. Hey, stop! Don't groan. It's true. Stop it! Oh my God! Have you ever seen- No. You guys would have been mad if I didn't pick this one. I had to pick this one.
I would have
would've
been
picked another one.
happy if you
telling
hadn't
yourself
picked this.
that.
I would have been
No, I had
ecstatic if you hadn't picked this.
Yeah, I didn't want to lead with this one. There's so many other big ones on there, but I just grabbed this one because you guys would have thrown it at me anyway. Have you guys ever seen the movie Judge Dredd, for instance?
Which one?
No.
I did
Kind of like the guy, the Australian, rather than Rambo.
Yeah, exactly. Not the Australian rather than Rambo. Do you remember when somebody says to him, like, now all restaurants are Taco Bell, right? Okay.
No, that was
No, that's
that was,
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
Moron.
That's Demolition
I'm sorry, Demolition Man. I'm sorry.
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, you moron.
And it was Pizza Hut outside of the U.S.
Thank you for correcting me on that. All right, but anyway, the point is that now all restaurants are Taco Bell. Some number of years from now,
What
all
the
computers
hell
gonna
are
be
you
ARM.
talking about, Brett?
All computers are going to be ARM based. That was it.
So
I'm
Apple,
sorry.
because they are jumping on ARM now,
Look,
will take over, and
Yes.
because Microsoft has struggled with Windows on ARM, suddenly,
yep.
because and really, I mean, what is a computer, right? It's
Yeah.
The world
And
will change when
iPads.
NVIDIA buys Apple too.
Yeah, man. Someday it's all going to be ARM. You watch.
It's not going to be ARM.
Pretty
it's
sure-
not all going to be ARM. It's going to be a chunk of ARM, but there's still
Power 9.
Power 9's going to be a good one. But you know what? Okay, I'm not even going to do it because we're going to go into like 3-hour-long podcast.
Absolutely.
We don't
This is
want
just
hey, you know what?
throw it and run.
We're only at an hour. It feels like so much more, but
It does.
we could keep going. There's no limit to this until I run out of
All right,
hard drive space.
I have thrown my bomb. I'm running away from it now.
All right. I guess
Somebody else
that was a
pick
huge
one.
story. It's a big deal for Apple to change from Intel, obviously, to their own silicon. But
It is, and they're blowing away their old Intel stuff. I mean, just in keeping their own Windows ecosystem, they're really doing really well. I mean, it really explodes all over what they were doing before.
I feel
And they
like
can do that because they've got a walled garden, and more
Yeah,
power to
no
them
doubt.
because they're pushing the limits of low power stuff and good performance, and they're making. So I'm not against the M1 at all. I don't think it's crap one bit. I think it's a great piece of engineering. It's pretty focused. They've got the infrastructure to be able to pull it off, and they're pretty much the only people who can. And so
I'm excited to see where it goes.
yeah, I mean, previously Microsoft and Sony could have gone that way direction, moving on from Power PC. If they had gone
maybe.
ARM for their consoles,
Yeah.
that would have been a seismic shift, and they would probably be better off than what they are now. But they're not. They went x86, and there's a good reason, because PC gaming is massive, far more massive than people like to admit.
Absolutely. And
But
the
that's
next
a
one
different-
I outlined on there ties the two of these together. I don't know if you can see it if you have it up.
Fortnite?
No, ARM is. I'll feed you the first part of it. ARM is 35 years old. So in 2020, ARM celebrated the 35th anniversary,
yes, and NVIDIA bought it.
and NVIDIA buys them. So NVIDIA, the making of obviously part of the gaming situation, bought them for some reason, right? And Mellanox. So that was another big story of 2020. Why would they do that?
Let me pull this up.
They buy-
I think Jeremy wrote this. Yeah, it was a $40 billion acquisition when they bought that. That was back in September. Hasn't been that long.
Nope. It was close.
So far their promise to not change anything is held true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't
2
change
months.
anything
3
because
months.
they're not in control yet.
No. Yeah.
Is that ever going to happen? Because that has to go through China, right?
It's got to go through the U.S., England, and Japan.
Wasn't there a weird China holdout on that? That like some one of
That's
the
it.
managers
That's
there-
that strange thing where the guy locked himself in the office building, isn't it?
Yes, that was
The
it.
ARM
Yeah.
Yep.
executive.
Yeah.
Because the way that China makes you sell inside the country, you need to create a sub company that's like 51% owned by the Communist Party, and then 49% yours. And they put somebody in there, and ARM did that, and they've got a guy in there that they can't kick out of the office. Or at least they couldn't a year ago. So I don't know what the situation is with them right now, but it's their laws are interesting when it comes to governance of a company.
So, and NVIDIA, clearly a leading company in the gaming industry, bought ARM. Weird, huh?
They did it just to screw Apple. That's all it was.
Nah, I'm not thinking that's true.
Yeah,
no.
it's a convoluted thing, but it makes sense if you think about it. There was that whole dust up between Apple and NVIDIA back in the day with the
All right,
MacBook
we're gonna
Pro.
check back.
I
on
think
this
that's
in
the
a few
frosting. That's the icing on the cake.
And then it's
We're
like,
gonna
oh
see
hey,
who's-
Apple's going to ARM. We'll buy ARM, and then we own you, kind of. Except Apple has enough cash on hand to just buy it.
And not to mention those 100 billion chips that powered by our technology throughout the entire world. So
Well, PS, they have an exclusive weird license that allows them to do whatever they want. So
yeah,
that doesn't really-
architectural license, yeah.
yeah, top
Moving
dollar
along.
paid.
Yes, moving along.
Somebody pick something else.
Let's see. By the way, can I just mention? Let me show this again, just to show the viewers who've stuck with us this long.
No one is stuck with us.
This list, this is all just text. None of these are links. So
no.
Oh yeah.
You're doing
one of the most
job.
popular links. It says right here. This story. Oh, where do I click on it? I don't click on it because it isn't a link.
There's only so much I can do.
Like drop in a link. It's Control K, and then you just paste it in.
Control K?
Isn't it Control K to add a link?
It might be. It might be.
Huh.
All right. Well, we'll come to that.
Try it
later.
out,
I'll fix
everybody.
it for you.
Control K on your keyboard.
I only ever do like Control C, and yeah.
Anyway, other stories of the year. What was important that happened in this industry? RTX
Nothing.
gets better. DLSS 2.0 gets way better. Yes, that's true. Intel sold their modem division, right?
Yeah.
Or was
Windows
it
7
no?
hit end of life and nobody cared and still keeps using it.
Yeah, Windows 7 is no more.
Well, no, it's end of life, but
yeah,
it's certainly still a thing.
It's in extended pay for support phase.
Well, okay. What does that really mean, though?
What do you mean? It means that if you have money and you use it in your business, you will continue to pay for support until you finally switch over to Windows 10.
No.
They
Two
don't
of those
even.
three statements were correct.
Okay, they don't even. Isn't it? Can't you usually use a previous version of Windows for like 10 years as long as you pay for extended support to
That's
Microsoft?
the part
or
you're
no?
getting wrong.
Oh, I am. Okay.
Yeah, corporations don't pay for extended support.
Oh, I see. So at that point, they'll
blame
just.
IT people when the obvious
Okay.
happens.
Okay. What else on this list? Podcast 600. I was like, why is that on here? But that was the reunion show.
Yes, it was.
So like for
So there's
PCPer stuff, that's a big
Yes,
deal.
there's a few things on here that are PCPer specific.
Okay.
So yeah, Podcast 600 was a show that brought a lot of folks back after they had gone on to, well, Intel, I guess. We had Alan on.
That's exactly where they went, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it is. We had Ken. We had Ryan. It was a good show.
Let's see,
Guys
where
should
is it
go
here?
look it up.
600.
Yeah, Podcast
It's
600.
called just here for the after show,
It was.
which was a subtle hint. Like I didn't want to put anybody in the thumbnail,
Intel crosshairs.
right? I didn't want to get anybody in
They-
trouble.
Yeah. I'm not sure they were going to get in trouble for doing this sort of thing or not, but they were good sports about it, and they came on the show.
Yeah, and here we'll revisit that moment right here. This is the PCPer Clips show, and you can look at the old days with
When my
us-
camera worked.
Yeah,
Sure looks like the new days.
I think
where's Josh?
one of the best
there he
parts
is.
of this.
I
I think one of the
walking
best
him.
parts of this is that you were actually filling in different content in Ryan's white paper.
Oh yeah,
different
yeah. I
time.
added that in post.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody go watch 600 for the reunion show.
And look at youthful looking Ryan smiling, so happy. So
And
obviously,
Ken.
yeah, they look
Ken
too
has
happy.
a lot of joy in life.
Who
Because he
just
lives in
turned
Cincinnati.
19 just before this show.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old.
I think isn't he 21? I thought he was 21. Maybe not.
No,
His
he's like
ID says
25.
that.
He might be like
Yes.
26 now. Come
Oh,
on.
is he really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something, but anyway, here's
So bizarre.
podcast number 1, the old website. We've revisited May of 2007.
Was a year before me.
Yeah,
Year.
Josh was added
Well,
pretty
actually,
quick.
It was about 8 months after that.
Josh, we heard of the story about you in the airport thing, and it had its gross moments.
Gross.
It was
moments.
mostly the hotel.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
part.
yeah. Not the airport. Airport was pretty clean. So
Where is that? I need to find that because oh yeah, it's called When Josh Met Ryan. I animated this using my best
Oh, that's right.
animation style where like Ryan is
Yes.
talking and then Josh talks and then Ryan talks. Yeah. All right. Well, we've exhausted that topic.
Oh,
Right,
thank the Lord.
exactly. other Other 2020 big shows, a PCPer specific one. Well, sort of. Remember when they sort of flubbed the 5600 XT debut in the firmware, and how that was a huge, big crap on everybody?
It was more of like an industry thing though, because I don't think it really affected consumers. It was one of those things where you're a few days away from releasing the review, and they're like, "Hey, we have a new BIOS for you. You need to retest everything."
It was horrible. It was like day of.
Yeah, it was a 0-day BIOS update to go from 12 megabit to 14 megabit memory.
Why did they do that again? What did NVIDIA release that sort of pressured them into this?
It was CES 2020 when NVIDIA teamed up with EVGA to announce the Knockout, which was the RTX 2060 KO edition at $279, which is where AMD was launching their product. So they either had to lower the price of the 5600 XT or increase the performance. They chose the latter. Mm-hmm. So they asked their partners to overclock the memory because those are memory bandwidth constrained. So you just pump up the memory and you have a significantly better performing part. So that was kind of a big story. But in the end, all that really mattered for 2020, because that was so early. That feels like a lifetime ago. That was years ago.
I know, but it happened in 2020.
That's so strange to think about that. Yeah, because if you had mentioned there's a feature on the website, Brett, where you can actually look at stories by month.
I forgot to mention that at the start of this. But yeah, on the right-hand side.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let me bring up this screen so you can see PCPer.com on the internet. Archives and timeline, it says, select month, January 2020. And it takes you back in time.
All of the news and review items.
Magic.
Everything
phenomenal.
That was podcasts. You can see podcasts here, reviews, news items.
Brett, who built this wonderful site that we're looking at here? Who added this feature?
It was probably me. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Look, I reviewed a laptop on January 2nd of this year. I do not even remember doing this. It's a long time ago.
Funny what happens when you get old.
Jeremy wanted to make sure we talked about Western Digital and SMR.
Oh, yeah.
What storage media is it anyways?
What's Shingles magnetic recording between friends anyway?
Back in April, they had to address the controversy. Who actually broke this story? It was probably on Reddit originally, and then...
Oh, it's this crazy storage forum.
Data hoarder subreddit.
That's it. There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, they actually released a chart that showed you here's what has SMR, here's what has
and
CMR.
Then they revealed that the blues were gambling.
Yep. It's either or. Between 2 and 6 terabytes with blue, you're either getting SMR or CMR. And then the older drives, like 1 terabyte or below, they're all CMR, of course. But then high capacity drives, like you go up to, the real bad one was the 2 to 6 terabyte Western Digital Reds are all SMR. Like you have to go to 8 terabytes to be guaranteed SMR, or CMR, sorry, or else you have to move up to the Red Pro, which is of course more expensive. So that was a big deal. So then I think a lot of people are exploring alternatives to Western Digital for the first time in years for their NAS, because you don't want to run SMR in a NAS, especially if you have to. I hear that it's not great for rebuilding.
No.
Yeah, that was one of the big problems during a RAID rebuild. I mean, you know what? And all you had to do to destroy trust was just lie to people. I mean, it's that simple. That's all it took.
It should just be in the model name. Everybody who's into storage knows these Western Digital drives by their model name, because different model names have different platter densities, that sort of thing, which can affect performance. Different amounts of cache, even with the same capacity.
Yep.
So just throw on a new number or a new name that ends in either C or S, and then people will know. And the people who are in the know, who care, know what to look for. But
you see, they were just pissed off because we were screwing them over by shucking all those Easy Store drives from Best Buy.
That's true.
And so
You know,
It was
I
your
did
fault.
that, and it seemed fine to me. I was fine with it anyway.
Yeah, I still have a couple here that I did that with and haven't put in anything yet. But yeah,
Is that a 12 or a 10 white?
This is a 10.
This is 10 white.
White, yeah.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
They're so cheap. These were like 160.
Yep.
169 at Best Buy or 169. Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Like, how do I not? This is 10 terabytes.
4 of the 6 I have for $139. They have them on
What'd
sale
you buy?
occasionally.
Kent?
The 8 terabytes for $139.
Yep.
I've got 6 of them in my server, and I got 4 of them at $139.
Really,
That's a
I
good
mean,
price.
which one of our articles showed that ridiculous stack of shuck drives? Was it the Plex?
I think it was the Threadripper server build.
Jim, was that your Threadripper Plex server?
Oh, here we go.
You keep a lot of documentaries on.
It's all open source software.
It's public domain films, Linux ISOs,
National Geographic type stuff.
No,
that's
not necessarily.
copyrighted.
Only if it's in the public domain.
Non-copyrighted music,
Yeah, a lot of work goes into ensuring that there is only like freely available public domain materials
Yeah, Jim spends a lot of time curating that.
in the hundreds of
Happy
terabytes.
birthday a couple of times too. It was quite sad.
Yeah, I had to delete all those. Here's that article, building our kick-ass Plex server. And that was back from January of 2018.
Jim, I just want to say that this actually does still get quite a lot of traffic.
That's a nice
good
photo
to
there.
know.
Is this, who took this photo? This is such a good photo.
I took that photo.
Look at that. I mean, the shadows has a little bit of a vignette here. I don't know if it's in camera or what was going on.
I like how the horizon and the table actually disappear into each other.
That's a piece of paper, right? It's one of those paper fold-out. No,
it's
that's a
a-
line. There's a line.
There was a piece of paper against a white backdrop as well. So it was a folding table with a piece of paper and then a white backdrop.
It's very nice.
Jim, it's good. It's not continuous, but it's good.
Yeah, well,
Where's the picture of all the drives?
it's coming up somewhere.
Uh-oh,
Here we go.
Oh, no. Here it is.
There you go.
There it is.
Did you guys drive around Cincinnati? Where did you go, like, picking these up? You went to, like, all the
Yeah,
Best
Alan
Buys
and
and
I. Yeah, pretty much. We made circuits, Alan and I, because they check 3 at a time. So we put in online orders, maxed out our options there, and then hit up all the stores in person.
That's just, I mean, that's awesome. Now, what's the difference between the white and the red? Like the white label ones were HGST.
Well, at that point in time, they were both red drives. It's just that they switched to a newer firmware, and so that explains the difference in the label. Nowadays, it's generally you're going to get the white label drive, which has the performance characteristics of the red, but it's technically a different SKU.
Okay. I thought there was a cache difference between some of them, but I don't remember.
There may be a very minor performance difference, but it's really close.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, definitely check out that article, by the way. Very thorough. That along with, there's another tutorial we did where it was building a Steam cache, right?
That
Right,
was a
yeah, that's
Ken
actually-
article.
Oh, it was Ken?
It's popular.
Okay.
Yep. How about the XE GPU? That was a 2020 story.
Yeah, we still don't have it, though. We have
you
XE
seen one yet?
graphics in
There-
some mobile
there are-
SKUs.
That's right. It does exist, and it's not quite up to, I wouldn't say that it's quite up to like 3300G standards. It's not even, it's knocking on the back side of the door of Vega, I think, but it's was promised to be a lot more than it is.
Yeah, let's going back
I
to
guess that's the
Architecture
story.
Day, which was in August. We talked about Superfin.
Super thin.
Superfin. And then what else did they talk about? And there were some unfortunate moments here. I can't remember. Like, why do you have this slide? We had 14 in 2014, and then a plus in 2015. We added another plus in 2016, and then in 2017, we added another plus.
It
the
doesn't
next
seem
year,
complimentary.
we added
In
another
2019,
plus.
technically, we launched some 10 nanometer stuff.
And then it says,
But our next year, 14 again.
here's what I want to point out about the end of this chart. At the inflection point or whatever, the today, redefining FinFET, it flatlines. The line actually becomes horizontal, and then it goes to a question mark. Or will
electrically, super fins are awesome, but you notice they never talked about manufacturability. Not once. And say, you know what, we're yielding these 30% better than our standard 10 nanometer. No. Chances are super fin is lower yields because greater complexity.
Hey, and speaking of complexity,
how come I feel like Jabba the Hutt?
I don't know. You're slipping down. You're in like post. This is
What's
like
the guy at the end of the
mode.
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
What was the name of that dude with the tentacles for a head?
I don't know. I have not watched that show yet.
Anyway, but he got fat, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting fat.
It's winter. You're getting ready for winter, Josh. I was going to bring up the complex GPU strategy that Intel has with XE, which is integrated plus entry, mid-range, enthusiast, data center AI, and HPC exascale.
And where are they today again on this?
I believe they're in integrated entry right now, which is LP.
Oh, okay.
So that's LP, low power, and then high power graphics. I don't know what HPG stands for. I'm just
high performance gaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
And it's interesting. I mean, they've broken way past the EU limits that they had before, so they're going to be able to throw a lot more.
When did we publish this? What was the date on this?
This is August. This is from Architecture Day. August 13. I think Architecture Day was August 11. So it goes over Tiger Lake, it goes over the GPU architecture strategy, enthusiast graphics, and we're just not going to have it until next year. So who knows? There's going to be an Intel graphics card that you can buy, presumably at some point in the future, and that's going to be competition at the low end with AMD and NVIDIA, I guess. But we will see.
So speaking of graphics, I mean, what do we do with those graphics? We play games on them. So I'm gonna run down here through this real quick and just highlight the games that were big games that were released in 2020. And I'm just gonna scroll down through Half-Life Alyx. We waited a long time for another Half-Life. Half-Life Alyx.
Was it everything we thought it would be?
I don't own a 3D set, so I can't be sure of that.
A 3D set. You mean a VR headset, right?
That's what I said.
I don't own a 3D TV, so I can't play that game.
One of those
newfangled 3D things. I guess they did backport it to 2D. I'd like to try it.
Was that just a hack, or has it been actually legitimately backward? Let's check Steam here.
Somebody did it, but it was not really necessarily official.
Only
Half-Life Alyx.
Reviews are overwhelmingly positive.
And well, you know what? That's just telling me that I should play it. And I don't own a VR set, so.
And it's 25% off right now.
Yeah, still don't own a VR set. That's 25% off plus $400.
What do you mean plus 400? Oh yeah, because you got to buy a VR set.
yeah, man. So that's one of the games that were, I think, a highlight or a big release of.
What's another one?
Halo Master Chief Collection.
Okay.
The remake, although they didn't all kind of come through the best. I think there were some things that were missing from certain of early Halo collections. Although I bought this, it's in my queue of waiting to replay as well. I never played some of the later ones, so that's going to be new to me. But I did play a couple of the early ones, so I'm looking forward to a replay of that. I don't know what you guys think of that. I thought it was very good for them to bundle it.
I never played Halo.
Well, don't buy it. Just get Game Pass.
Because you know what? You've been talking to Jordan again, haven't you?
No, actually, I haven't. I haven't spoken to Jordan in a while. Miss you, buddy.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
No, the Game Pass stuff. It's now that they're buying up all these studios. Master Chief is there. Flight Simulator 2020 is there. Outer Worlds. A ton of great games for what is it? $10 a month on PC.
And as long as you keep paying your $10, you continue to be able to play.
Yeah, and there's no contract. So, subscribe, pay $10, play it all month, unsubscribe, and then when the next game comes out that you're interested in, subscribe again.
How many games are in the? How many games have they released in the Master Chief Collection? Because that's probably gonna take
Halo
months.
4 just came out recently.
Yeah, so they're releasing them in stages. So, yeah,
Okay,
I might as well just buy it.
So since I don't know anything about this, if I get Game Pass, so can I play it on PC or do I have to have an Xbox?
Well, there's Game Pass for console, Game Pass for PC, and Game Pass Ultimate, which I think is $15 a month. That gives you both.
Okay.
Ultimate.
It's not a bad deal. See, that blows Stadia out of the water then, if it's actually games people want to play. Okay, you can actually download and install the games, right? You're not just streaming.
Yeah, exactly. It's different from Stadia. It's local, so you do need to have the hardware to play the game, but there's no latency because you're playing it on local hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Stadia.
game?
Stadia, the horrible failure.
Okay.
The horrible failure of Stadia. We could have talked about that.
As a side.
I
didn't even bring it up because I'm like, that wasn't even news. It went away.
It's it's a Google product. It will go away.
They keep
it's going to be canceled.
Begging me to come back.
Now, Google is the lady of perpetual beta. It get canceled after a period of time. Don't bother.
Good thing I didn't buy a Nest.
Don't.
Even though it's not the funnest game and most interactive, but MSFS 2020 is setting new limits on interactions in real world stuff in terms of people, in terms of weather, flying around areas. They use the Black Shark AI to populate cities with believable architecture, and they go through and they hand do some stuff now and then. We've got a bunch of updates. It's amazing. I mean, it was funny when, it wasn't funny, but it was interesting when the hurricane was coming in through the south. People were flying there and they could see the cloud wall approaching shore and getting turbulence and wind and all this other stuff. And it was real live weather.
In American fashion, they drove straight in.
Exactly. Good on them. But yeah,
that's what Americans do.
It's a beautiful, beautiful title if you just like flying around. You're not going to get into dogfights. You're not going to go and get the level up sword anyplace or upgrade your armor. But damn it, you'll see some really interesting things.
I can see my house.
It's a little pricey, though.
I can see my house. Hey, Josh, Microsoft Flight Simulator was definitely a highlight of 2020, so you're right on.
It was. There you go.
A long wait, but worth it for a change.
And it was the game that redefined what it was to have a powerhouse gaming PC.
Truly. Yeah, before Cyberpunk 2077 was
released. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 it's a buggy, unfinished mess of a game.
And Flight Simulator
2020. Flight Simulator is a
buggy by design.
Kent will tell you that Cyberpunk 2077 isn't always circling the drain.
Okay. Hey, by the way, speaking of not circling the drain, I just want to bring Jeremy up to the front here. His video has improved 1,000%. Frame rate's back up.
At least 10 frames a second now.
Oh my gosh!
The TV went off.
Oh, see,
that happened a long time ago.
Well,
this is just after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, Shaw will suddenly let me have upload more than 256
Here's the Shaw cable. I'll drink to that.
Is that it? Can we move to the picks of the week? We've only been going for 2 hours.
I know.
It is midnight on the East Coast right now.
You're right. Hey, real quick, 2020 DLSS gets way better. 14 nanometer will live forever. Ryzen 400 series gets Zen 3 support, but not PCIe 4.0, which is fine. Obviously, we won't touch the Ampere and RDNA 2 releases. Everybody knows about those, and you can't have them. Forget about it. You don't want them anyway. SAM and resizable bar are a thing. Maybe coming to a Ryzen board near you. Maybe not. Hold your breath. Bots, hate them. Doesn't matter. You can't have it anyway. Bots are going to get them.
Hey, 2020 is almost over, and all our problems will be solved, right? All the tech will be available in just 2 days. It's a new world.
That's how it works.
Screw it. Why aren't you 8K gaming? It's like, whatever. Why don't you?
Because you can 8K game as long as you have, as long as you're actually playing at 1440 and upscaling, yes.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know who added it here, but I see there's an entry that says PCPer continues on in 2021. Now, just what we saw here, Josh might not make it, but that's important because, as people know, I've been absent and I'm actually no longer regularly involved. I had we'll say I had a combination, an unfortunate 2020-esque combination of a health issue, a health crisis, and a personal crisis combined in the worst possible way. And so I had to step away suddenly. And a big thank you to Brett and Sebastian and Jeremy and Josh and Kent and everybody in the community for stepping in and taking over and continuing on, because I didn't know there was a period of a lot of uncertainty there. I had no idea what was going to happen, and you guys stepped in and kept this going. So congratulations to you guys. I'm thrilled to see it continue, and that's just great.
Congratulations and apologies, I think, are really the best. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, you're doing it. I don't know why you're doing it, but you're doing it. It's just like it's a habit. It felt weird to not do the podcast. We didn't do the podcast for like a month.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to do something.
Longer.
Yeah, it was longer.
Was empty without it.
It was a while.
What's life without the Wednesday night prayer meeting? We all get together at 10 o'clock on the East Coast and
talk about food,
Yeah. That's what this is really about. We need to expand we need to have a side channel about food.
Throw some technology on the fire and see how it burns.
Yeah. Well, no, don't do that. I think Ryan did that a long time ago. He
maybe
melted
the
stuff
thermite,
down.
Yeah.
The thermite, yeah.
Thermite.
And Jim, you did say that you would actually, when you have an opportunity, would be contributing to some editorial content whenever you had a chance.
Yeah, my appearance here tonight is not the return of regular me, unfortunately, or fortunately for those of you who hated me. I understand, but I just wanted to join the end of the year show here, but I will as time allows. My situation has changed dramatically, and so as time allows, I'll come back if you'll have me. So. But thank you to everybody who expressed well wishes and everything. I missed you guys, and I really appreciate it.
End of year stuff, I think, is over, right?
Oh, thank God.
Let's talk about picks.
Yeah,
Let's come back to the now. Forget about the year that was. We're moving forward, Josh, take us forward.
My thing segues into my pick.
Yeah.
Right now, this is the S50 Lite from XFX? Not XFX. XPG.
Yes.
Their Gamix S50 Lite series, 2 terabyte PCIe 4.0. So it's very comparable to that low cost. Who is it? Sabrent, 4 terabyte, 2 terabyte PCIe 4.0. It's a SMI controller, so it's not fast. It's like 3,900 megabytes per second reads, 3,200 megabytes per second writes. So it's faster than PCIe 3.0, but slower than the other 4.0 versions. However, this sells for PCIe 3.0 prices. So you get extra performance at pretty much the same price per gigabyte. So it's a nice little thing. It's nice.
It is nice. That sale ends in 2 hours, but I'm guessing there'll be another one.
Probably
soon. Regular price on this is $259. It's on sale for $229. That's a very good price for 2 terabytes of Gen 4. We haven't seen really any of. I haven't handled any of the SMI stuff. That's new. We talked about that when it came out. So there's a competitor to Phison in the non-Samsung space, and it's SMI. All right, who is next? We have Jeremy. Oh no!
Well, I went for the most ridiculous product that I've seen in all of the reviews that I've had to link to or read in 2020.
What's ridiculous about this?
This is by far the most ridiculous thing. The best part is that some people don't think it's ridiculous, which makes me laugh even harder.
Look, if you're blinging out your case, if you're going all out with RGB, what's wrong with adding a strip of RGB lighting to your power cable?
So much.
Okay.
So much.
I don't see it. I think it's totally
it's $100.
Are they addressable?
So it's a really good value to buy.
But is it addressable?
Those are addressable, yes.
Yeah,
It's
Adrian.
what's
Thank
the
you.
problem? This is addressable tube
Kent,
lighting.
do you
that
own these?
I do
Kent,
not.
Do you own these?
Okay.
I do not, but I could be tempted into putting them in a showcase for some reason.
Exactly, Jeremy.
So will you spend $110 on your nice PSU, and then you take out the cables and you spend $110 on your ATX power supply connector, and another $50 or so on your 8 pins.
What confuses me about this is is it a power
ridiculous.
cable extension with lighting, or is it just lighting to clip onto your existing power cable?
No, it's actually it's part of the cables.
Oh, wait, hold on. Okay.
This is the Plus. The original one was a clip-on.
That's what I thought. So this is way
Plus
better.
Are straight on. Yeah.
No, but I see it still clips on, but it clips onto a segment that it comes with at least.
Because even RGB fanatics aren't crazy enough to run the lighting behind their board yet. We have a new year coming up.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good
RGBs will move to the back of the board.
One of my favorite case lighting scenarios was actually under like ground effects lighting. There was like a subtle glow that came up from under the bottom of the case against your desk. We need to bring that
Trans
back.
Am.
Yeah, bring that into the picture, and then obviously RGB power supplies are a thing now, so you need to do that.
True.
Because even if you can't see the fan, at least you'll get like the RGB glow out the back of the power supply up against your wall, you know? RGB rear lighting.
Soren's got a video for you about that.
Yeah, he does. The RGB apprentice.
You
I think it's
bloody
called.
lunatic.
Another wonderful moment in PCPer history in 2020, I think. Brett has left. I don't know if that means that he's boycotting the rest of the show.
No, Tom, you got it backwards. Wrap the Christmas tree in PC lights. It'll be much brighter.
I wonder if Brett went to go get a prop. Brett,
He's
you're
went for a
back.
cry.
It's
Maybe
time
he
for
just
your
wanted
pick.
some water like I did.
Is that
my throat
water?
was very parched.
Is that
I
really
had some
water? Is it though? Is it barley water?
I
Is it
brought
grappa?
this in. I brought this in.
Okay. Did you bring
Hey, I'm up.
the router? Yeah. Yes, you're up. Belkin, Wi-Fi 6 router,
I could go
right?
grab it, but this router is a Wi-Fi 6 router, and it's on sale because it's the end of the year. Like, I don't know, sell more. Belkin is selling. It's $100
That's
list
cheap.
price, but 15% off with that code, that NY 2021 code. There is going to give you.
Does it have an RGB power cord?
It does not. I know you're disappointed by that.
Jeez.
Ooh, look how it's well vented. It appears
It is reasonably vented. And like I said, it's Wi-Fi 6, and it's not terribly strong. You know, it's good for a couple thousand square feet is what they say. But it is a really good deal for an integrated solution for people who are looking to perhaps upgrade to Wi-Fi 6.
And look at these mid-century modern sort of lifestyle.
Stop commenting. Stop
photos
commenting on the
here.
decor. This is not the point.
I mean, because I feel like this
It's the
design
metal
would.
origami swan that has me
Yeah,
confused.
it's their leftovers. It's the leftovers.
All right. I guess what
Those
you're
are taken
commenting
from
on is
an
how
IKEA
well
showroom.
it integrates. with
I
the
don't
decor.
like how fast the slideshow is working. I'd like
You're
these
right.
pictures to stay on the screen a little bit longer.
No,
I
Ken,
thought you were
think
doing
you're
that.
just taking it
I'm
in
not doing
IKEA.
it. It's just automatically doing it.
All right, it
too
is
fast.
unappealing at that speed.
You know what, Belkin? If you slow down your slideshow, I'd consider buying your router. Okay,
It's running Wi-Fi 6. That's why it's so fast.
it's true. It's
I
true.
technically-
don't understand this.
Where are the actual specs
Technically,
here?
this is this 4-port.
You know, it's the
switch.
5G of Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying?
Where are the specs? Oh, here they are. I guess.
Yes.
At a glance.
It's all gigabit, of course.
Of course.
You know, at
Of
that
course.
part. You can connect a USB drive. It's slow at USB 2.0 speeds, but
Why?
it's utilitarian. It's not for an
But that's for a
enthusiast.
printer, though. Really.
Yeah,
It's only USB
or-
2.0. Why would you connect anything
Yeah.
to that? Wait,
Because you don't have a
because
centralized
gigabit limits you
computing.
so much that you might as well. Although no, you could do 100 megabytes on gigabit, but
Yeah,
Okay.
but you never. That's theoretical. You never really hit that. So it's
I
not
do.
terrible for somebody.
hey,
who wants
when
to
I'm done
integrate.
with this show and start transferring this stuff to the NAS, it'll be going at about 112 megabytes a second.
Well, you're a special person in so many ways.
It's true. I'm very. It's what makes life worth living, is how unique and different we all are.
I'll drink to that.
Jim has a pick, I think.
Yes, I do. So this, I mean, these things have been around, and they've made their way through podcasts and stuff. People have talked about it for several years now. But I just got on the train. It's a sous vide machine, and it's a sous vide cooker. Specifically, this is the one I picked up. It's the Innova Nano. It's right now listed at Amazon for $129. It was on sale for $99 a few weeks ago. So see if you can get a sale on it. If you're unfamiliar with this, it's a way of cooking where you put your food. It works best with meat. You put it in a Ziploc bag or a vacuum sealed bag. You put it under water. This thing heats the water to a temperature, keeps it at that temperature. And because of that, you can cook for long periods of time at a very exact temperature. There's no evaporation out of the bag because it's all sealed. And it's really great for steaks, chicken. You can do like mashed potatoes. There's all kinds of recipes. Some are a little bit more involved. It's easier to do them a traditional way, but you cook steaks in this thing, put them in there for a couple hours, and then just sear them for a minute at the end. Fantastic. So check it out if you haven't yet. Because it's $100 and all you need. You don't need anything else, right? You can use Ziploc bags, and you can just use a big pot or something. You don't need to get the specialized containers or anything. And I've been using it for about a month, and it's had some good meals.
I was going to say the only proper way to cook a steak is just to sear it for a minute on both sides, and then it's done.
Just 1 minute on both sides. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
This doesn't look very big. I mean, how does it heat to a point where it's actually cooking these things?
Well, electricity. It uses electricity, Brett.
Okay, it's the crazy thing about water. It absorbs a lot of heat, and then it keeps it for quite a while. You may have this thing that, like a hot water bottle that you lay on your stomach for a while, and it retains heat.
If you look at the close-up here, Brett, you will see what looks like some sort of a coil down here at the bottom.
I see it.
I'm guessing that gets very hot.
I did not see it before.
Also, I
think, if you will,
this is Hitachi Magic Wand-esque, I will have to say. Like this, the size of this.
Be careful.
The size of this unit.
Confuse those.
No, because that could be dangerous.
Don't mix those up.
It does say you get perfect results, though. Which
so the thing though is, Brett, like if you were to cook a steak in an oven, because let's say you're like me and you don't have access to an outdoor grill anymore, so you'd have to put it in an oven. You'd maybe set the temperature to 300, or you set it to a higher temperature than you want the steak to be at. With this, you set it to the temperature that you want the internal temperature of the steak to be at. So maybe 130 degrees. So it's not getting super hot. In fact, most of these don't go above maybe 200 degrees. But it gets you. But that's plenty for almost any kind of food. And it gets to that temperature. It takes longer, but you get a good result in the end.
Oh, okay.
All right. Moving on to things that can't kill you from internal parasites. Kent, you had picked actually. These are actually quite affordable. I know you have expensive tastes in Beyerdynamic headphones.
Oh,
but...
yes, these are the Beyerdynamic Amaron Home models. They use the same Tesla drivers that the DT1990s use, but they're tuned a little differently. They're a little warmer. They're not as studio focused, and they have separate inputs, so they can be run balanced quite easily if you have a balanced headphone amplifier. I think I made it very clear in my review of the DT1990s last year that I truly love the Beyerdynamic sound signature. I now have 3 pairs of different Beyerdynamics in my house, and each one of them is, while slightly different, is just fantastic. These the Amaron Homes are 250 ohm impedance, so you will need an amp, but it's not like you would need like a nuclear reactor to power them like you would with some 600 ohm headphones. But they're a much smoother, much warmer tone, just general relaxing headphones.
And look at the size of this headband. That looks really soft. What do you think about comfort? Like, this headband looks huge. The ear pads look huge. Is it comfortable? What's the clamping force like?
Oh yes, the Amaron Homes have a much lighter clamping force than like the DT 1990s, or any of their studio focused headphones. These are just a big pillow that you put on your head and listen to nice, pleasant sounds.
That sounds enticing, but I mean, a lot of people would look at that and say, well, they're $300. Well, they're $319. They're made in Germany, which automatically means they're going to be more because if you haven't investigated what it costs to actually produce things in Germany, it's very high. And the
MSRP is $699.
How long is this sale going for? Sale ends in 2 hours. Another one of those. Okay, well, by the time you're actually watching this, jump on this right now. If you're watching live,
most of the time you can find those in the 400 to 450 range.
Okay,
but 319 is a rockin' deal on them.
That was it. That was podcast 609. We laughed, we cried, we talked about the year that was 2020, and we're coming back in 2021 in just a week's time, probably.
Bigger and stronger than ever.
Yeah. The pre-CES show, and then the next one that's probably during CES. And, more new products and stuff to talk about. But
stuff that you can't buy.
Yeah, more stuff you can't buy. Pre-announcements of things that will be re-announced.
Except SSDs. You can buy SSD.
That you can.
Right. So buy your SSDs today.
An important distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy Intel processors and you can buy Gen 4 SSDs, but those two don't really mix. Unfortunately.
Not at PCIe 4.0 speeds, they don't.
I mean, as long as they if they're backwards compatible with Gen 3, then I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, well, until next time, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for putting up with us for the last 2.5 hours now.
2020, goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye 2020.
Good riddance.